Good morning, everyone. Good morning again to those of you who were here in the last session. This is the second session of this morning's MIPCube program, and this one's called Show Me the Money. I won't belabor the point too much, because it pretty much does what it says on the tin, but we keep on hearing about how production has changed, how the digital world has changed the way that we think about content, the way that we produce content, the kinds of content that we produce. This session is talking very specifically about the way that the new constraints and opportunities of the digital world have changed the way that we fund and monetize the content that we make. And I am joined today by the lovely Tait from Duopoly, and Tom Thirlwall from Bigballs Films, and Sue Brooks from the Associated Press in the UK. They are each going to do a quick introduction to themselves, and then we're going to have a bit of a chat. At the end, there will be time for your questions, so please save them up for then. And in the meantime, the Twitter hashtag is MIPCube. Take it away, Catherine.
Good morning, everyone. Am I on? Yes. Good morning, everyone. I should just say my company, Duopoly, is New York-based, but I also am chairman of a digital company in Toronto, in Canada, called Authentic. So many of the productions that I'm going to be talking about are done through Authentic, and some of them are done through Duopoly, and you'll understand why when I talk about financing in terms of finding clever ways to attract money to projects. In terms of the specific productions that I'm going to talk to today, I'm going to set this up with a short reel. What you're going to see are 3 shows that we're launching here at MIP. One is called SOS Save Our Skins. It's the first clip. And it's a project I found at Just for Laughs in Montreal, the comedy festival. 2 UK comedians were pitching it as a web series. And I optioned it and then ended up doing a co-production with Baby Cow in the UK. And we'll go into how that was financed if we have time. The second project is, again, a comedy called Space Riders, and the clip speaks for itself, and that's an all-Canadian production. And the third production is a thriller, interactive thriller called Guidestones, and we're in the second season of that series. It won the Digital here at MIP last year. And it's had a very long road in terms of multiple partners and how to financing, et cetera. But I think before we get into that, I'll run the clip, please.
This is SOS. We don't know what's happened, but everybody has disappeared.
Whoa. That's not looting. It's just that some of the people we've met lately have been very crazy.
Are we the last men left alive on Earth? And if so, are you part of a colony of women?
Please don't take my skin off.
That's good.
Where are the people?
An intergalactic supercriminal has escaped from prison and aims to destroy the Earth. We at the Galactic Ministry have chosen you to defend your planet.
Yes, absolutely. We are your heroes, fine sir and madam. I'm a space ranger! Rider!
30 years ago, in a farmer's field in rural Georgia, Crayon built a Stonehenge-like monument. On it, in 8 different languages, are inscribed 10 commandments on how to rebuild civilization after the apocalypse. This monument is a signal, and many people are going to die. You're gonna die too.
So you'll see quite a diverse range of content there. The one thing that all 3 of those shows has in common is a budget of under $400,000. In each case, well, not in each case, in 2 of the cases, we are producing a web version, so shorter episodes, about 7 or 8 minutes long, and a feature version. And in one case, we've also created TV half hours. So we're doing all of that at extremely, extremely low budget, but with reasonable production values. And so at the end of the day, we're finding audiences, we're able to put these projects together, but again, nobody's getting rich fast.
Thanks, Catherine. Over to you, Tom.
Thank you. My name's Tom Thirlwall. Thank you. And I'm CEO of Bigballs Films. We are a business a film production business that's grown up in this space. We were formed in 2006, and the whole world of digital distribution was the most natural place for us to start. So we've always found ourselves asking the question, kind of show me the money, because we couldn't sit around and rely on commissioners to commission the sort of content that we wanted to create. And it was very interesting listening to Eric Schmidt a couple of years ago at the Edinburgh TV Festival talking about the internet being the future of TV because it's what people want. He was slightly biased, obviously, as chairman of Google, but it came 5 years after we had formed as a business, and we had always been creating content, distributing content online, and waiting for that moment where you can say, show me the money. So what I'm going to show you today is a reel for that summarizes 520 films that we made in 2012 for a football channel that we created called Copper 90. And I thought I'd talk about it because it's World Cup year. In less than 3 months, it kicks off in Rio. And this channel, we launched off the back of funding from YouTube. So we were one of the European YouTube Originals Commissions. And you'll hear a lot of naysayers and people doom-mongering about how you make money on YouTube and digital platforms. And so I'm here to tell you that you can do it. You will have to lower your cost of production, and you will have to become a kind of content entrepreneur. So it's not just about producing it and writing it and get it out there. It's everything else in between. The opportunity is to kind of build a brand around your content and market and distribute it and retail it, which I'll come on to in a second. So this is in about 80 seconds, 52 hours of our first year of Copper 90. He says, expecting someone off there to do it, but I actually do it. So here we go. No sound. So yeah, that's a very quick roundup of our first year of Copper 90. And the way I describe it and the way we operate as a business is effectively a kind of merged media model. It's not one thing or the other. I think we're in a very transitional time at the moment, but we operate somewhere between a publisher, an agency, a producer, a distributor, and a retailer. And it's all of those models that you've kind of got to get your head around if you want to succeed in this kind of new media age, I suppose. We didn't want to sit around and wait for commissioners to give us money and then tell us what to do with our content. We took it upon ourselves to create our own content and create our own audiences, and that's where the kind of greatest prize is. So yeah, I'm sure we'll come on to talk more about it, but that is Bigballs, and that is Copper 90 and our model in terms of making money.
Thanks, Tom. And last but certainly not least, Sue.
Thanks. My name's Sue Brooks, as you know, and I'm Director of Video Transformation at the Associated Press, which is, I hope everybody knows, is the world's largest news gathering organisation. I say that for the last 18 months I've been working with newspapers specifically who are looking to use news video for the very first time. They're experimenting with video because all the research has been showing that it's essential for a news site. Well, why is it essential? It's essential because it engages with a new audience. If we could change the slide, that would be helpful. If we got a... Oh, that's... Where do I point it?
Guys, there we go.
Oh, there you go, thank you. It engages with a new audience, as I said, specifically engaging with a younger one. it brings a story to life, and we've done lots of research in the past 18 months that has shown that, and it enhances a brand. And it just shows how quickly the landscape is changing, because in the last literally months, I'm having exactly the same conversations about video, but not with news organizations these days. I'm starting to have the same conversations with brands, and the brands are all wanting to use video for exactly the same reasons. It engages, it brings a story to life, and it enhances your brand. But also for one other crucial thing, and that's that traditional advertising isn't working anymore. I can tell you lots and lots of statistics. I think the main one is that when the first banner ad appeared in 1994, 20 years ago, there was a 44% click-through rate. Now it's 0.01%. In fact, somebody said not long ago, you have more chance of climbing Everest than you do of clicking on a banner ad. I haven't verified that fact, but I've heard it quoted many times. So brands are increasingly using content to lure customers to their sites. In effect, they're moving away from advertising that interrupts to stories that connect. And we're seeing this increasingly as a trend that we're expecting as well to grow in the next few months and indeed years. I've got a fact here as well. The Content Marketing Institute says 9 out of 10 brands are using content to reach their audience, and video is increasingly front and center of those strategies. I'm going to show you now, if the internet is working, a quick trail from a company. It's a bank called Uska. Please let me have pronounced that right. Uska Bank. It's a Danish bank which has created its own TV channel.
There's that point when involvement and relevance and visibility can turn regular communication into something even greater. This isn't a campaign or a viral video, and we don't think in terms of just a single web channel, because at Uska Bank TV, it's all about the content. And that's why we've built a communications universe like no other bank in the world. Imagine CNBC or Bloomberg, where we are the broadcaster. This is Uska Bank TV's all-screen communication, where our content is everywhere. And it doesn't matter if our audiences are on the go, at work, or just relaxing on the sofa. We produce fresh content every day, and it's about much more than just finance.
Det er ikke nødvendigvis sådan, at din uddannelse...
Hvad er det, der driver fremgangen hos jer?
Men der bliver Ernst & Young's World Entrepreneur of the Year.
But what does this mean actually for Uska investors?
Jeg er på 24 kvadratkilometer.
We're also co-creating content. Our open editorial process allows viewers to get involved in stories as they're being produced through our social media sites. So we can produce content that involves our audience and brings relevance to their lives. We promote this content with traditional TV ads and marketing to bridge the gap between the flat screen and the touch screen. For us, content is a culture. And that's why we've developed an app that brings the most important internal channels to life too. From our internal morning program.
Okay, well, look, you've got the idea of that. Uska TV has already won some awards for being a fantastic TV channel. But how are they measuring success? That the founder is a guy called Lasse Hugfeldt, who founded the channel about 4 or 5 years ago now, so is well ahead of the curve. Can we just hear from... You've got a quick soundbite from...
The first question I always get when I do a speech about Uska Bank TV is, what is your return on investment? We've kind of changed the focus, and instead of talking about ROA, we talk about ROL. And ROL means return on love. And we strongly believe when you give the viewers something they really appreciate, something they love, they'll pay you back. So that's our main focus, to produce some content that the viewers really do love, and then we believe that they will love the bank back.
And before we laugh or scoff at the concept of return on love, look at some of these statistics behind me. If you have content that entertains and educates and inspires, the love and therefore the customers will follow.
Thank you very much, Sue. And I'm going to do this in reverse order because you've just said something that is very near and dear to my heart. It's this idea of love. And I've been saying for a while that people will pay for what makes them happy. People will give money to those that they love, brands that they love, products that they love. I'm sure this is a question that's on a lot of people's minds right now. We all know that lots of people are willing to do almost anything to be loved, including not telling exactly the truth. And especially in the world of the Associated Press, which is one of the largest and most trusted news resources in the world, is it a problem maintaining quality of content, journalistic integrity, etc., in the face of all of this brand involvement?
It's not a problem at all because the two, to some extent, go hand in hand. The integrity is at the heart of everything the Associated Press does, and there is so many lines between church and state that it would never ever, that they're never very never breached. It's also, from a commercial aspect, very interesting question because, of course, you're using content to connect with an audience, and therefore the audience needs to trust that content. So we find that having a trusted brand like the Associated Press or whoever is terribly important because that's how people won't engage or connect with content that they can't trust.
Okay, thank you. Catherine, I'll go to you next. You have so many different players on some of your productions in terms of funding, in terms of stakeholders, in terms of players of all kinds. You also work in many, many different formats all at once on quite small budgets. So how has that changed the way that you design your content, the way that you think about your content?
Well, like Tom, we started in 2006 making content for the internet. It was very early days. And we had this fantasy that there would be a buyer, somebody would commission, and then the money would roll in through, advertising based on traffic. Well, it didn't really pan out that way, and the market has changed a lot. So what we benefited from, like you, being an early believer. So we've made all the mistakes. We've done every kind of production. We've done every running length time. But what we've found is that currently, and I don't want to say this for all production, but in the scripted, whether it's comedy or drama area, you are better to be thinking creatively in a serialized way, because just putting out little short pieces, as some people in the earlier session were talking about people snacking on content. Well, from our point of view, if you can't build audience loyalty over time through connecting that viewer with a story that they want to come back to, then you're missing the boat. Also, people binge view, so you want to be able to give them a reason to stick with you over multiple episodes. So we generally look at a property, we ask the following questions. Is it fabulous? Number one. Number two, is there a way we can tell the story in a narrative, in a serial narrative? And then number three, is this a narrative that can be delivered in multiple formats? So the only one there that is not being delivered in a feature form is the Takeoff on Power Rangers, the Space Riders project, and that's just pure fun. But SOS, the first one, is, as I said, was being delivered in 3 formats. It just won, actually, we just heard this morning that it won Best Feature at the Phoenix Film Festival this week. It was never really conceived as a feature. It came to us as a web property. So, but in order to make any kind of, to monetize after you've funded the project in the international market, we were finding that short form content simply didn't have any outlets in the international marketplace. So I could get a comedy on Funny or Die or College Humor or something like that in the US where there's loads of comedy platforms, but I wasn't really doing any business there, and there was certainly nothing outside of, and nobody was paying an upfront license fee. So anyway, so from a creative point of view, thinking about the property, is this a standalone piece that's going to work in these multiple formats? And then the final question that we ask is there franchise-able qualities in what it is we've done? So for example, in the case of Guidestones, that's the story of two students who have uncovered a global conspiracy. And the kind of hook on that series is that each series takes them around the world. So this one, by the way, this season 2, we ended up in the Ukraine just at the moment. I mean, it was just a completely fortuitous or unfortunate timing. We were there when the most sort of violent protests were occurring. We were in the Ukraine, we were here in France, we were in the UK, and then in New York. In the case of SOS, also, by the way, if you notice, that series is about two idiots that wake up in New York City. They're attending a Comic-Con, and they wake up in their hotel room, and they're the last men on Earth, except for the cannibal girl. So we're in that situation. We're saying, okay, that season arc, that story arc, is them trying to figure out what's happened to the human race. And then in our last, and not to be a spoiler, but in the last episode, let's call them griffins, come out of the sky, come flying down, and so we lead into a hook for another season. So franchising is really, really important.
Thanks for that. So a slightly different side of both of those questions for you. Yay. You said that basically you guys explicitly do a lot of different things across the industry, everything from agent to building your own audience to making the content, marketing it, etc. So one, do you keep the focus on production value? And two, how do you do that with all of these different jobs?
So I think the most important asset that we have in our business is the content that we're producing. Second most or equal most important asset is the audience. And so the way we split the company is pretty much half and half down the middle of those who are involved in the creation, production, edit and distribution of that content, and those that are explicitly there to understand the audience, to help iterate the content. And then we've created a single process where the teams that are looking after the audience development and the marketing and the audience insights are actually kind of working in one flow with the content creators. And what we want to get to is a point whereby every time someone is going out to shoot something with a camera, they're thinking about where it might appear, how it might be seeded, how it might be marketed, who's the audience that is going to respond best to this. And so I don't think I think with that kind of one flow process, there isn't a kind of disjointed nature between those that are making it and those that are creating the audience around it. And it certainly doesn't get in the way of producing great content, because that is the single most important thing that we are creating. So we keep that absolutely paramount, and obviously people will talk differently about what is kind of production values and quality production. For us, it's just all about what is the response from the audience, and that is the thing that film after film we're trying to better. So trying to better the engagement rates, trying to better how many times the film gets shared, trying to stop people skipping through it, people coming out of it early. Those are the metrics that we kind of work off.
You told me a fairly major success story earlier. Can you share that with the audience?
Yeah, no, we can. So it's the year of the World Cup, and Copper 90 has just sold out its World Cup sponsorship package to Hyundai, who are a top-tier brand partner of the World Cup. What was interesting, though, was not so much that, but we have done that deal ahead of ITV and the UK doing their World Cup sponsorship. And it was in light of the question that Lou asked before we started, which was, are brands going to attach themselves to content? Is it the same quality of that you would experience on TV? And our view is that it's better because it's more engaging, there is a greater sense of measurement, there is a very tangible sense of whether the content is working there and then in real time. And as I say, we look at all the metrics around each individual view, which is far more powerful than just getting some barb data or some TV data 3 months later that says it was a success or not. So that was, a major achievement for us. It's World Cup year, so as a football channel, we have to be at the World Cup. And we started filming there a week ago with a series called World Cup Cities. And we will continue through the whole World Cup. So again, back to the kind of money, where the money flows in all of this. It goes across the board from the commission to the retailing of merchandise, to the distribution, to the kind of on-the-ground agency work that we'll be doing out there for brands, because we have 4 production crews out in Rio for 5 weeks.
Excellent. I love that story. Right, I'm gonna ask you one more question to all 3 of you, and then we'll open it up to the audience. Very quickly, if you had the opportunity to give one message to the gatekeepers of the distribution world that still exists to some degree in this digital environment, and one message to the brands, what would those messages be? Sue?
Know your audience and engage with them and love them.
To the gatekeepers, give up.
Excellent. And to the brands?
To the brands, keep going and get behind authentic storytelling. There's plenty of case studies now of brands that are doing it brilliantly. I won't go into those now, but it really is, a case of we're facing a very real future here, and there's plenty of precedent. So get involved.
Excellent, Catherine.
I guess to the gatekeepers, I would say take risk. I think most broadcasters are terrified of what's going on in the digital space, in the digital arena. On 2 of our shows there, we have all 3 of them have broadcasters involved. Some will air it on television, and others will air on their own online platform. But I would say that generally broadcasters don't have the expertise in the online space. They're trying and failing. So I would say take more risk to the traditional gatekeepers, and to the new gatekeepers, Amazon's, Netflix, Hulu, take more risk, because most of those new gatekeepers are going for celebrity-driven content, and they're not willing to look at what I would describe myself as an independent producer. So take more risk.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions in the audience? Can we get the lights up so I can see them? Thanks. Yeah, we have one down front.
You talk about gatekeeper give up, but isn't it more a case of repricing the value of gatekeepers and how much they get in the value chain? And the same way, Newscred comes up, and then AP just say, well, we can innovate as well and do exactly the same thing in a more powerful way. And it's just about bringing innovation at the gatekeeper and repricing that rather than just getting rid of gatekeepers.
Yeah, I don't want to get rid of gatekeepers. What I mean by give up is, and obviously I was being a bit kind of glib, but what I mean give up is give up sort of being a gatekeeper in the way that you always have, preventing sometimes creative innovation, invention, and being a gatekeeper between kind of producer and audience. I think that the biggest worry if you're a gatekeeper, and that can be of any description, but let's say broadcasters now, is not fellow broadcasters. It's every kid growing up now that has a digital camera, learning how to edit and creating channels of content for themselves on multitude of platforms and engaging audiences on huge levels. So if you're competing with that, then yes, maybe the economics need to change. But also, I think that whole commissioning process needs to kind of wise up. It's insane that it can take 2-3 years to get a drama project off the ground with a broadcaster. It's insane that it could take anything longer than, a month which is about as long as it takes us to come up with an idea and see it on screen and build an audience, and if it's not working, we kill it. And that is the generation that we are in now. And so, yes, if they can adapt to that both economically and creatively understand how quickly you can connect to an audience, then there's a chance. But if they can't do that, I would say give up.
Thanks, Tom. I'm afraid we are out of time for this session. However, your 3 speakers will be out in the Meet the Speakers area, which is directly outside this auditorium. So if you have more questions for them, I'm sure you do, as do I. Please meet them out there. You can speak to them one-on-one. And thanks again, everybody.